Nicholas Andre Devanadera, CFA will introduce our speaker for the next session, A Bold New World. So to introduce our next speaker is actually the president of Finance Philippine Trading Corporation. So a big round of applause for both our moderator and our speaker for the next session this morning.
To talk about this bold new world, which is actually a very interesting topic, not just in the financial industry, but in all other industries that use tech, especially all industries. We have someone who has 11 years experience with deals, operations, and content delivery. Well, he started his career in 2004 as a data analyst working for Reuters Group. And then throughout the years, he has held various positions in deals operations before eventually being promoted to head of content specialist in 2011. In his current role, he is responsible for leading a team of specialists who work in collaboration with business strategy, technology operations, and content operations to deliver new content and product enhancements to deals and private equity clients. In addition to his role in deals and private equity, he is also responsible for driving the innovation culture across content teams in Manila. He works with a community of automation and process excellence expert in Content Manila to deliver process improvements and innovative ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the head of deals and private equity content specialists, financial risk for Thomson Reuters, Mr. Deepak Verma.
Thank you, Nico, for that wonderful introduction. So 11 years, I didn't realize it's been that long. So I'm really excited to be here, and brings me back to my college days. Starting off, I was thinking to myself what I'm going to do, and I'm sure I attended a few of these sessions. I played around with similar options like you're playing right now. Where do I go? Do I do a CFA? Do I do something else? And I hope all the presentations you've seen today are going to help you make that decision. But I hope the presentation I'm going to make is going to be informative, and it's a buzzword these days, big data, and that's what my presentation is all about. We titled it A Bold New World. Let me figure out how to use the clicker first. It's surprising that I spend so much time with technology and I struggle sometimes when I have to use it. Okay, so trying again. Oops. Not pointing in the right direction. Like that. Sorry about that. So, as you can see, you get to learn something new every day. 11 years and I never thought I'd have to struggle with this. But yeah, with another on our way, let me start with a quick quote from William Edwards Deming. And the quote says, "In God we trust, and all others must bring data." It's a very powerful quote, and I'll tell you why. Because when I started hearing about big data, the first thing I was wondering is, why is there so much trust about big data? Data's been around all along. People make decisions based on data every day for hundreds of years. A simple example I remember is my mother, and I'm sure all of you relate to this, is my mother, before she went to the grocery market, she'd asked all our neighbors, hey, how much did you pay for a kilo of onions earlier today? What was she doing? She was really trying to gather data about the simple trade she's going to make later in the day in an unorganized market, because she wanted to make a well-informed decision when she goes to the market. Now let me take another example of people using data, right? All of us have these smartphones, cell phones, right? And all of us, before we go out in the market, we want to procure ourselves a new gadget. What is the first thing we do? We spend time on the internet, right? We review all the possible options, we review costs, we review features, and I'll tell you what, these days, one thing that people do that I didn't do back in my days was ask the community, what do you think I should buy? What are your reviews about Samsung or iPhone or whatever else there is in the market? So that tells us already the nature of changing consumer behavior, right? The nature of data is changing every day. So big data, I think I'm sure, like I said, it's a very confusing word. All of us have been thinking, what is big data all about? And Global Language Monitor, these are the folks who are, the folks who go around identifying buzzwords and are, behind selfie being identified as the word of the year. So these folks have identified big data as the most confusing tech buzzword of the decade, or at least thus far. So why don't we spend a few minutes to try and understand what big data is all about, right? And why is there such a big fuss about big data and what this whole revolution is all about? Well, don't get too worried about the slide. I know there's a lot of content there, but I won't do it quite a bit. But what's important, and this is something you should always remember if you want to remember analytics and the changing face of analytics, it's the 4 V's of big data. And it's these 4 V's that are driving the big data revolution. Let's dive a bit deeper into the first one. Sorry, I skipped one. All right, never mind. Let's focus on the volume, the leftmost quadrant first. It said that 90% of the data was generated in the last 2 years. And it said that that data is going to generate double itself every 2 years going forward. As you can see, we're generating 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every day. It's amazing how we start using these words like quintillion and zettabytes. I think a couple of years ago we didn't even know these terms existed, right? And I'm sure folks are running out of words for the amount of data that's being generated day on, and then that gives you a sense of the volume of data all of us are generating. And the next V that I want to talk about is variety of data. And we're not anymore restricted to filling up forms, right? I remember going to college and I filled up a form, application form, and go to a scanner, and every time you go to the school and ask for your records, and somebody has to scan through thousands of documents. That age is gone. People now fill up everything online. But that forms are still an example of what we like to call structured data. Why is it structured? There's a key and there's a value next to it. That's not a problem. What is a problem is semi-structured and unstructured data. Now what do I mean by semi-structured and unstructured data? Your tweets, wall posts, Instagram pictures, these are examples of unstructured data. How do we procure all this content, process it, and then use it to drive decision making is not easy, I can tell you. Sitting on my side, I look at all this data and all the tweets that I'm receiving from bankers talking about how they're advising somebody on an M&A. I'm thinking, how am I going to get this data as quickly as I can? And that's a good segue into the next week. As quickly as we can. Velocity of data. There's a good example there you can see at the bottom of the slide. Talks about how the New York Stock Exchange generates 1 terabyte of tick data. Now what is tick data? It's nothing but prices. And in a market that's trading constantly, and in a global economy where people are interested in trading all over the world, there is data being generated every millisecond, right? And we at Thomson Reuters have to process that data, identify what we call arbitrage opportunities, right? People need to identify, hey, can I use an arbitrage opportunity? There's an IPO recently, or there's a merger recently, and the share that's offered that's being given to this target company is $12. Can you tell me if that company is actually trading right now at 11? I might as well go buy it. I'll make $1 real quick, right? And those arbitrage opportunities don't exist for far too long. They vanish in a matter of minutes. And that's why velocity of data is so important. All of us really want breaking news to be delivered to our fingertips in a matter of seconds. Again, it's a matter of capitalizing on opportunity. And opportunities these days, I'm sure all of you realize, don't last too long. If you snooze, you lose, right? And that's why velocity of data has become absolutely critical. Processing data, deriving value from it, and using it at very quick speed and real-time processing has become really important. Let's talk about the last V, which is veracity of data. Now, veracity of data is all about whether the data is trustworthy. It's said that 30% of the data that we collect is not fit for real-time decision making. There's an interesting stat over there. The US economy loses $3.1 trillion every year because of poor quality of data that's driving decision making. So hopefully all of this is giving you a good sense of the challenges that we're facing in this new digital age in processing data, understanding consumer behavior, and driving decision making. To make it a lot more simpler, let's take an example. I'm sure you're all very familiar with the graphic I have up here. It's the map of the Philippines. And all of us, again, going back to the cell phones, all of us have cell phones. What are these cell phones doing? Every second they're sending data to network towers. And what are cell phone companies using this data for? Two things I would say. They use it for risk management and they use it for